Hi there, grade 8. Our topic for today is compound interest. So, compound interest essentially means interest on the interest because the interest here is accumulated. Now, before we work on some compound interest problems, let us compare the two graphs here, which is a representation on the graph of an investment using simple interest and an investment using compound interest. So take note that this graph is a representation on an investment using compound interest, while this one is an investment using simple interest. And both investments here have a principal amount of 10,000 pesos. And the x-axis here is the time expressed in years. So how long is the investment in years, no? And the y-axis here is a representation of the final amount at the end of t period. So if you will see here from the graph, the investment made using compound interest after 50 years of investing the money, this will result to the value of y here equals 475,000 pesos. Unlike with this one, using the simple interest after 50 years. So the final amount is 50,000 pesos. So you can compare the difference on the two types of investment using compound and simple interest with the same amount of investment. So at the end of the same period. So this is very far from the investment made from the simple interest. Now we're going to work on compound interest problem using the simple interest formula. And from here, you will be able to compare how is compound interest working. Now, a principal amount of 10,000 was invested at the rate of 10% compounded quarterly. So the rate is annual interest rate. So this meaning this 10% is good for 1 year. Now, when we say compounded quarterly, if we will represent n as the compounding period, so we have n equals 4 here because we have 4 quarters in a year. Now, we're going to calculate the interest and the final amount using the simple interest. So we know that the interest is equal to PRT. Now, if T equals 1 year, then I equals PR. Then the final amount is equal to the sum of the principal amount and the interest. So in this compound interest problem, we're going to use the simple interest formula and we will calculate for the interest per quarter, and that interest being earned from that problem will be added to the principal amount and we will arrive with a new principal amount. So we're going to calculate the interest of the first quarter, and the interest again is equal to the product of the principal amount and the rate. Take note that the rate there is annual interest rate. So, and we are going to calculate for the interest for 1 quarter. So we will divide that R by 4. So since R is zero point 0.1, so we will divide this by 4. And we will be able to calculate for the interest of that investment in 1 quarter. And this is 250 pesos. Now class, these 250 pesos will be added to the principal amount. So we'll come up with the final amount equal to 10,250 pesos at the end of the first quarter. So that's the final amount. Now, this final amount class will be the new principal amount in calculating for the interest on the second quarter. So instead of working on the 10,000 here, we now have a new principal amount, and that's 10,250 and multiplied by point 0.1 divided by n, because we are just going to calculate for the interest in one quarter. So we have the interest equals 256 pesos point 25. And this 256 pesos point 25 will be added to the principal amount, which is to 10,250, and the new principal amount will then be equal to 10,506.25. And we're going to use this final amount in calculating for the interest on the third quarter. So the interest at the end of the third quarter is 262 pesos 66. And the final amount at the end of third quarter will be the sum of 10,506.25 plus the interest at the end of the third quarter. So we have the new principal amount equal to 10,768.91. So this 10,768.91 will be the new principal amount, and we will be using this in calculating for the interest on the last quarter. So we have 10,768.91 times zero point 0.1 all over 4. So we have 269 pesos point 22. And the total amount of money after investing 10,000 for 1 year will then be equal to the sum of 10,768.91 and 269 rather, point 22. So we have 11,038.13. So this is the final amount of money after investing it at 10% annual interest rate compounded quarterly. So take note that the interest class has earned on the interest as well. So the interest earned per quarter is added to the principal amount, and we come up with the new principal amount. Unlike if we solve for the interest, the final amount at the end of one period using the simple interest rate here, we have the final amount equals the principal amount times 1 plus RT. So we have 10,000 here times 1 plus the rate is zero point 0.1, and we know that time is t, so we'll just write that as is. So F equals 11,000 pesos. Now, a little difference of 38 pesos and 13 centavos because the investment is just for a year. If you're going to come up with a longer term of investment like what I've shown you in the previous slide, so really it will have a different value, okay? Far from 38 pesos. Now, this is the formula that we're going to use for the final amount of money for the compound interest. So A is the maturity value or the final amount. So we use F for simple interest. Here we're going to use A. Then P will be the principal amount. Now originally we have F equals for the simple interest rate. We have F equals P quantity 1 plus RT. Now since we have the compounding period for compound interest formula, and this R will be divided by the compounding period, and everything will be raised to the number of period. So we're going to make use of this in solving for the compound interest. Now, here, for example, we are asked to solve for the final amount or the maturity value for an investment of number one and number two. So in number one, Jane invested 20,000 pesos in a CD at 10% annual interest rate, compounded quarterly for 5 years. So how much will be her money at the end of the period? So this is basically asking for A, or the final amount of money. And A using compound interest equals P times quantity 1 plus R all over N to the NT. So substituting the given in the formula, we know that the principal amount is 20,000 pesos. And we will multiply this by quantity 1 plus the annual interest rate is 10% and divided by 4 since it is compounded quarterly. To the NT, that's 4 times 5 years. So calculating the final amount with principal amount equal to 20,000 pesos and the annual interest rate is 10%, will come up with 32,000 pesos, 777.33. Same problem, we are asked to solve for the final amount with the principal amount here equals 40,000 and the annual interest rate is 12% and it's compounded monthly. So since we have 12 months in a year, the compounding period is 12. So n equals 12. Now he agreed to pay his debt at the end of 2 years. So how much will he pay? So how much will be paid at the end of the period? So this is solving for A. So this is 40,000 times quantity 1 plus the rate is 12% all over 12. So N is 12 while T is 2 years. So using your calculator with the principal amount of 40,000 pesos and the annual interest rate equal to 12% with compounding period 12. So we have 50,789.39. Okay, so what if we are asked to solve for the principal amount? So from A equals P quantity 1 plus R all over N to the NT, we will just isolate this P. So we will divide both sides by the second factor of the right side of the equation so that your P will be equal to A all over quantity 1 plus R all over N to the NT. So P is asked in problems number 3 and number 4. Particularly in number 3, so Steve paid a total of 12,184.03. So this is the final amount, A. And this is the annual interest rate quarterly. So N is 4. And then this is for 2 years. T equals 2. So P here is equal to the final amount, 12,184.03 all over quantity 1 plus the rate is 10% all over 4 to the 8th power. So this is 2, rather 4 times 2 years. So using our calculator with a final amount of 12,184.03 and then divided by 1 plus quantity point 1 all over 4, we have rounded up to 2 decimal places. So the principal amount or the amount of money borrowed was 10,000 pesos. In here, Sean received a total of 46,049. So this is the final amount from his investment at 5% annual interest rate. So this is your R, compounded monthly. Again, N equals 12. And then this is your T. So how much money did he invest? So this is solving for P. So P equals the final amount 46,049 all over 1 plus the interest rate is 5.5%. So this is 0.055 all over 12 to the n, that's 12 times 5. So this is to the 60th power. So the amount of money invested with a total amount of 46,049 will be equal to 34,999.52. So that was the amount of money investment in number 4 problem. Now, since the annual interest rate is asked, so we will be deriving the formula and we will derive that from A here. So A again equals P times quantity 1 plus R all over N to the NT. So solving for R, we'll work on the NT root class of A all over P minus 1 times the compounding period N. For us to directly convert R, which is a decimal value, to percent, so we'll multiply that by 100. So we're going to make use of this formula in solving for the annual interest rate. So R here, so take note that this is the interest and the investment was 16,000 and this is the time in years and this is semi-annually. So there are 2 6 months in a year, so your N equals 2. So R equals, so N times T is 2 times 3. So we're going to work on the 6th root of, so your A is 2,018.60 plus 16,000. So that's your A. So we have 18,018.60 all over the principal amount 16,000 minus 1 times the compounding period 2 times 100. So R is already in percent here. So we have 4% here. Now, John paid that interest of 6,743.37. So this is the interest. This is the principal amount. Then payable in 2 years. So T equals to, if the loan is compounded monthly, so your N again is 12. Calculate the annual interest rate. So we are asked to solve for the annual interest rate. So R here is equal to N times T. So we have 2 times 12. So we have 24th root. So this is 25,000 time plus 6,743. So we have 31,743.37 all over the principal amount, which is 25,000 pesos, minus 1 times the compounding period 12 and times 100 to convert the rate to percent. So we have 12%. Now, solving for the time from A here, so we'll make use of some logarithm here that T equals logarithm of A all over P all over logarithm of 1 plus R all over N. Okay, so we're going to use this formula in solving for the time. So Malu loaned 60,000 pesos from a bank. So this is the principal amount that charges 3%. So this is the annual interest rate. Compounded monthly. So your N is 12 here. If Malu has paid a total of 69,697.01, so this is clearly the final amount. How long did she pay the loan? So this is solving for T. So T equals logarithm of the final amount 69,697.01 all over 60,000 all over logarithm of quantity 1 plus zero point zero 0.03 all over 12. So using your calculator, we have 69,697.01. 60,000 is the principal amount. And then log 1 plus the interest rate is 0.03 and this is compounded monthly. So T equals 60 years class. How many years will the amount double if invested at 6% compounded semi-annually? So no final amount given nor principal amount, but the ratio was provided double. Meaning, if let's say the principal amount is equal to 10,000, we're expecting that A equals 20,000. Okay. So A must be 20,000 pesos. Now, if this is 50,000, then this has to be A. So A equals 100,000. So the ratio is 2. The ratio from A to P. So we're going to make use of 2 to represent A all over P. So your T here is equal to logarithm of 2 or 2 over 1 all over logarithm of 1 plus the rate is 6% all over 2 because this is semi-annual. So your time is equal to 23 years, 23.45 years. So this is how we work on compound interest problem. So that's it for now.